For the last several years, I've been building businesses from scratch. I've scaled an online store to over $12 million in revenue. I've lost it all and I rebuilt from the ground up. On top of that, through House of Founders, I've actually worked with hundreds of founders who are somewhere between the idea phase to scaling past seven figures to building something that they could eventually exit, and everywhere in between. And what I've discovered is that there are 7 stages. And the more you understand the 7 stages you're actually going to go through as a founder, the more that you can plan, prepare, and learn the skills that you actually need and start advancing more quickly. So it's a little bit like a fighter climbing through the ranks, right? We all start at the beginner levels and then we grind and grow and graduate and eventually find ourselves competing at a completely different level. The founder journey is exactly the same. And I want to share with you real experiences from each of these stages so you can see yourself in them and know exactly what to actually do next. So stage 1, revenue-wise, is typically $0 to $10,000. Now, this is what I really call the proof of concept stage. For me, my first proof of concept moments were scrappy as hell, right? I was selling things door to door before I even knew what entrepreneurship was. I'd find a problem, figure out a solution, and find someone willing to actually pay for it. That was it. No business plan, no brand, no strategy, just a raw instinct to create value and exchange it for money. And honestly, those early wins, even the small ones, were some of the most important moments in my entire founder journey because they gave me something that no course or mentor could give me. They gave me that confidence to call myself a founder. The proof of concept stage is not about money or big scale success. It's about stories and confidence. So you are getting the experience of being a doer, not just a thinker or a dreamer. What I want you to do is spot a problem, any problem. Think about how you would solve it and go see if someone will pay you to solve it. That's it. It could be someone in your network who needs content but doesn't have time. Offer to write their LinkedIn post for a month. It could be a local business with no social media presence. Offer to manage their Instagram for 30 days. You spot a problem, you create a solution, and you get paid. That is stage 1. Stage 2 is a trap. It's the 10,000 to 100,000 mark. This is the zone of the self-employed solo operator. And I want to be honest with you. I spent more time here than I'd like to admit during my rebuild. Essentially, what you're doing in this stage is selling time for money. You've got a skill set and people are paying you for it. If someone was to observe you from the outside, it looks almost identical to having a job, except instead of one boss, you've got 3 to 6 clients who all think they're your only priority, right? It's such a trap. You're the one doing the work, the one sending invoices, the one handling the problems, and there's no leverage. The goal is to get through this stage as fast as possible. And here's the counterintuitive thing that I've noticed. The founders who have too many technical skills actually get stuck here longer because they're so good at doing the work themselves. They never learn to delegate it. When I was rebuilding House of Founders, I had to force myself to stop doing everything and start building systems and teams around that delivery. You know, the faster that you stop being the product, the faster that you move forward. Stage 3 is 100,000 to 500,000. Now, you're in the space of being able to delegate. And there is one thing in particular that you're going to get good at delegating in this stage, and that's the supply side of what you would do. So here's the thing. Every business has a demand side and a supply side. The demand side is how you win clients. It's how you generate leads and make sales. It's how you get people really excited to work with you. How you position yourself. How you differentiate. That is all about winning business. The supply side is how you deliver. It's how you keep the promises that you made. It's how you do what you said you were going to do. The founders who scale the fastest are almost always the ones obsessed with the demand side, not the supply side. I want you to write this down. My business exists not because I have something to sell. My business exists because I have somebody who wants to buy. Your job as a founder is to position yourself as the gateway to a high value outcome. And the more you are out front selling that outcome and delegating how it gets delivered, the faster that you're growing. But the problem you're going to run into at this stage is that you're not yet seen as special. You're competing on price. People are hiring you because you're more accessible or more affordable than the bigger names. You're flying under the radar and winning business on hustle alone. And that works until it doesn't. Because you will eventually tap out your market. You'll burn out on low margin clients. And you'll be going head to head with people who have more infrastructure, more brand, and more reach than you do. Stage 4 is where we redefine everything. And this is 100,000 to 500,000 transitioning into the next tier. We stop thinking of ourselves in terms of what we do and where we do it. And we start thinking in terms of intellectual property for an ideal customer persona. So IP meets ICP. That is the shift that changes everything. Your IP is your methods, your frameworks, your case studies, your stories, your documented insights into your market. It is everything unique that you have figured out through your experience. Your ICP is the specific person who sees massive value in exactly what you know. Think about it like this. Imagine a content strategist who says, I do social media management. Now imagine if instead they said, I help founders who have already built a business past $200,000, turn their personal story into a lead generation engine that brings in inbound clients every single month. The second person can work with any type of founder in the world. The first person is just another social media manager competing on price. Redefining your business around what you know and who you serve is the unlock that takes you past that ceiling of stage 3. Stage 5 is 500,000 to 1 million. This is where personal brand becomes non-negotiable. At the earlier stages, you're essentially a great salesperson with a growing team. But when you get to this level, you need to be a key person of influence. Or you need to bring someone in to play that role. A partner, a speaker, a mentor, a board advisor. Someone whose credibility really embodies the intellectual property for the ideal customer that you serve. This is a stage where you are showing up consistently on social media. This is where your content is really doing that heavy lifting for your pipeline. This is where you might have a signature framework, a workshop, a lead magnet, maybe even a book. Something that demonstrates you've got the intellectual property for this specific type of person. Laying those foundations is what gets you past that first 7 figures. For me personally, once I committed to building House of Founders as a personal brand and started showing up as a key person of influence in the founder space, not just as an agency operator behind the scenes, everything changed. The inbound got better, the caliber of conversations got better, the close rate got better, because people were coming in already pre-sold on the brand and the frameworks before they even got on a call. Stage 6 is 1 million to 5 million. This is where you start formalizing your assets. And this was the hard lesson I learned the expensive way. During my first run, I had scaled fast, but nothing was mine. When things fell apart, I had no brand equity of my own, no systems, no documented IP, no channels. I had to start from scratch because none of the assets that I had built were actually owned by me. So in this stage, you are formalizing your brand, formalizing your intellectual property, building your own channels to market, creating your own products and services and packaging everything up. You are building an employee handbook that defines what it means to work inside your organization. You are creating systems and processes that run without you in the room. An asset is anything that adds value to your business without you having to physically be present. So think video content, documented frameworks, automated systems, software, intellectual property. This is where you are building a machine and not just a team. You also have, for the first time, a dedicated head of marketing and a dedicated head of sales. So these are world-class people whose entire focus is generating and closing new businesses. There is something almost magical that happens when great salespeople have a steady flow of warm leads coming at them. When the pipeline is full and the right people are working, the money just starts to flow. What does it feel like to have a $1 to $5 million business? Later in your journey, you will call this the good old days. The money is flowing and you typically have a team of 6 to 12 people. You solve problems over lunch, you draw on whiteboards, and the people around you believe in the mission like it's their own. It is vibrant, it is fun, and it is a flat structure. And you have a real budget to start with, right? This will put a smile on your face when you look back. Stage 7 is 5 to 10 million, and this is called crossing the desert. This is where a lot of businesses really get stuck. They hit close to 5 million, fall back to 1, climb back up, fall back again. And the reason is that you're too big to stay small, but not yet big enough to operate like a large company. You can't afford to invest in everything you need in order to level up, but you also can't afford not to. This is where you need to make a real decision about who gets to stay on your team. In the early days, you hired generalists, people who could do a bit of everything, Swiss Army knives. At this stage, you need specialists, and sometimes the most loyal people from your early days are not the right people for where you're going to be going next. That is one of the hardest parts of growing a business, but it is necessary. And here's what's on the other side of the desert. You have an executive team, a CEO, a CMO, a COO, and a CFO. You have a growth team running marketing and sales. You have a customer success team, and you have a data team. You have a finance team. And all of those teams are aligned, measured, and executing. At the smallest scale, this looks like about 30 people. And when those 30 people are aligned and running off the right dashboards with the right meetings and the right resources, you can go from 5 million to 10 million in a matter of months. It feels like you have been hitting a brick wall for years, and then suddenly everything clicks and it's whoosh. You are a different business operating at a completely different level. Now, we've crossed 10 million. What does life look like? You are a figurehead. You are a founder. You are surrounded by people who are better than you in their specific domains, and they respect you for building the thing that gave them the opportunity. The numbers that used to feel impossible are just part of the normal month. The cash in the bank is more than the revenue you used to dream about. At this level, you are no longer in the business. You are on the business. You start thinking about quality of earnings. You start thinking about valuation. Who might acquire this? Would a private equity firm be interested? Is there a strategic acquirer? Would your executive team do a management buyout? And some of the decisions that you make start to be about maximizing what the business is worth, not just what it earns. And at this point, you might exit. It could be a life-changing amount of money, or it might just free you up to go back to the thing that you love most. Starting from scratch and building something new. So, is it worth it? The answer is yes, absolutely. But only if you are genuinely wired for business, because here's the distinction I want you to understand. There are 2 types of businesses a founder can build. There's a lifestyle business and there's a performance business. A lifestyle business typically lives in the high 6 figures to early 7 figures. With a team of 6 to 12 people, it is self-managing, flexible, fun, but you can run it from anywhere. You can say no to clients you don't want. You can stay in a high value niche and keep your life exactly the way that you want it. And I will tell you, there's almost no sacrifice in a lifestyle business. You have a great home, you take great trips, you drive something nice, and you get an 8 out of 10 on almost everything that you touch. The juice is absolutely worth the squeeze. Now, does it go up a level when you're pulling $1 million a month? Of course it does. You get invited to different rooms. You have access to different things. The status markers that used to feel out of reach become reachable. But here's what I have learned. And I have watched this happen to founders I respect. The things you thought would feel incredible when you finally got them often lose their appeal the moment you have access to them. You know that Ferrari that was on a pedestal your whole life stops being that big of a deal the day that you actually buy it. If you love what you do and you love the game of business, go all the way. Build the performance business. Scale to 8 figures. Build a team. Exit for life-changing money and then do it again. But if the board meetings and the data reviews and the lawsuits and the hiring and firing and all of that, if that doesn't excite you, build that lifestyle business. Protect your freedom. There is no shame in that. There's actually a lot of wisdom in it. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the 7 stages of a founder journey, the single biggest cheat code for accelerating through all of them is building your personal brand and positioning yourself as a key person of influence in your space. You know, I made a video all about how to do that using content. And that is the one to watch next. I hope you're doing well. I hope the business is moving. I'll see you in the next one.